last night in the basement of the deli that provides us with those huge 10-foot sandwiches that we get. A committee of gamblers, absolute nerds, and Trevor Lawrence believers fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports television. It's an honor and a privilege. It's time for Nick's Tears. This is going to be a great one.
It's usually a great introduction. It saddens me that you spoke there so disparagingly of the committee.
What did I say disparaging?
I mean, you said gamblers, nerds, and Trevor Lawrence believers as if that represents the entirety of the committee. No
I can't name everybody.
No former NFL coaches.
Yeah. PhDs, by and large,
nerds
are covered in nerds.
Okay, you know what? Touche, my friend. But the reason it actually is so sad is because the committee member, Marshall, is in charge of the names of the teams, dedicated all bottom 3 rows of today's tiers, the names, to your fake failed first marriage. So play along, America.
Oh, wow.
Now to the tiers.
Fictitious ex-wife.
Bordering on hopeless. Listen, you guys have heard of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree?
Yeah.
I think we might have a bizarro version of that in Zach Taylor. The 3-0-3 teams, the Bengals, who are not on there yet, the Jaguars, and the Titans, have a common denominator, and it's Zach Taylor. He's coach of one of the teams, his brother's the coach of the other, and his former offensive coordinator is coach of the Titans. So, or his brother's the offensive, I had it backwards. His brother's the offensive coordinator's Jags, and his former offensive coordinator's coach of the Titans. So I'm just watching this bizarro Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. Also, we know the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Browns are no good. Next, only here for the kids. Anthony Richardson, Drake May, Bo Nix, and Malik Neighbors. That's why you would watch any of these teams right now. Sadly for the Patriots, the kid is not playing, but still. It's got to get better. It has to. Listen, smart people, do we have the next row? Did I say the wrong name? There it is. It's got to get better. Smart people picked these teams to make the Super Bowl this year. You guys can laugh. I picked the Bears. He picked the Dolphins. A lot of people picked the Bengals. It can't be this bad. And for the Dolphins, I understand that without Tua, it feels hopeless. But the first 3 quarters of that Bills game, when you had Tua, it felt hopeless. Yep. The defense has to be better. Like, you have too much talent to have it be this bad this quickly. We've talked a lot about the Bengals and Bears struggles. Next, potentially intriguing. Jaden Daniels is more than potentially intriguing. He is intriguing. What New Orleans and Tyrann Mathieu are doing for that defense, and reportedly New Orleans' murder rate needs to be studied in what they've been able to do. The Falcons, Kirk has looked a little better each week. I still think that division's wide open. And I am on Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison connection watch, at least until Call of Duty comes out.
Really roll off the tongue, but that's good.
We'll say it again.
Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison connection watch.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Dud watch.
Dud watch?
No, I'm saying that's just an example. Keep going.
Thank you. I'm not trying to go for. Listen, I'm not trying to insert my opinion into tears. I'm just giving the facts about what we are looking for. Next, can we just get healthy? This is self-explanatory. The Chargers are without potentially both tackles, potentially their quarterback. Their safety's not injured, but he's suspended. The Rams, their whole offensive line, both receivers. The Bucks, their whole secondary, and some other members of the defense. I think all 3 of these are good teams, but they have been ravaged by injury early in the year. Sub-Super Bowl ceiling. They're all 3-0. They're all well-coached. They're all good. They all have no shot of reaching the Super Bowl. But you should believe right now, fans of those teams right now should be like, we are making the playoffs. Maybe we can win a playoff game. But I think everyone knows none of those teams are going to be able to win the 3 games necessary in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. Talented, but untrustworthy. Don't trust the coach of any of these teams. Depending on the situation and game, I somewhat trust the quarterback, but somewhat not. The defense, you thought you would trust it with the Cowboys and Jets. I'm not sure. The depth of the roster, the age, all of these teams have A-plus blue chippers, but the rest of the team or the coaching staff to me is somewhat untrustworthy. Something's a bit off. So these teams all, to me, were legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And I understand the Texans are 2-1, but I don't think they've looked great in any game this year. Game 1, the defense struggled. Game 2, the offense struggled. Game 3, everything struggled. The Niners have now lost 2 in a row. Brock Purdy seeing ghosts, there's problems there. And the Ravens were playing as big of a game as you can play and almost gave it away after playing close to perfect football for 3 quarters. They're really good and scary teams, but something's a bit off. Pretty decent. Listen, here's the story to me of the NFL season so far. We're near the top of the tiers, and the names of the categories are still somewhat negative because I don't really know who's good. These teams are at least pretty decent. The Packers being able to win without Jordan Love is incredibly impressive, and Matt LaFleur gets credit. And the Lions being, for good or for bad, exactly what I think you thought the Lions were going to be, which is a really good team that you're a little nervous. Jared Goff, what could he go, Wilds? What could he go?
He could go straight pumpkin.
He could go pumpkin mode. We're a little worried about it, and you're seeing a few glimmers of it. Okay, now near the top, second highest tier. Might be good. Buffalo Bills. They might be good. And then the top of the tiers, the Kansas City Chiefs. Definitely good.
Definitely
good. And listen, the Bills, the only knock on them is the weak schedule they've played, and we don't know how sustainable it is for them, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. The Chiefs, the only knock on them is they always win, but it's not pretty enough or blowout fashion. But those are the only 2 teams, Greg, that the committee feels comfortable putting in the good category. That is the week 4 tiers.
Excellent.
Well, I got to be honest. The tier names, I loved it.
Thank you.
They're very fitting for a lot of these tiers. But there's a team that's sub-Super Bowl ceiling, which I kind of agree with all of that.
Okay.
However, the Minnesota Vikings, you got to move them up.
Vikings, guys.
You got to move them up. This is, when I look above them and I see my beloved Texans, who they beat.
They did.
I mean, absolutely embarrassed. And, the team next to them. The 49ers? You know what? They played them too. So let's take a look at how they beat these teams. It's been their defense, but look at this defense. I'm talking allowing only 10 points a game. That's second in the league. Rushing yards per game. That's second in the league. Well, they get after the quarterback better than anybody. They pressure the quarterback better than anybody. Things you got to do to have success on defense. And the main thing, take the ball away. Well, they do that pretty doggone good too. Brian Flores has been able to disrupt everything that every opponent is trying to get done. We thought it was a fluke because it was the Giants in week 1. Then when he did it against Purdy and that offense and Kyle Shanahan, it was like, oh my goodness. And then he does it again in the following week to CJ Stroud and that offense. It is real. And let's move to why this offense is good in my opinion. Sam Darnold. Like, you don't want to give him credit. But when you've gone up against that type of a defense all offseason in training camp, you get a little bit better. You just learn a lot. You've seen so much that what oppositions are now going to throw out there on the field, it's simplified. It's not chaotic. And so when you look at his completion percentage, that's going to be up. His yards per all these things.
It's a perfect passer rating.
Third down, they're really good in third down as well. Sam Darnold, albeit you have him on pumpkin watch, his team is good. And matter of fact, last year, they were with 2 guys that they aren't even at full strength with yet, and that's Addison and Hockenson. So we're talking about an offense, a quarterback that's going to get additional help coming soon. And these 2 guys, look at the amount of targets. Now, albeit Justin Jefferson missed a lot of those games, so they had to step in, and they did a great job as we're looking at right now. But when they get these 2 guys back, how much better can this offense get? The Vikings need to move up in the tiers.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's a compelling case across the board, and one would think it's really dispositive that they beat head up and beat soundly the Texans and the Niners.
Yeah.
The problem is, and I don't know if I've ever shared this, but the committee, one thing we do every committee meeting near the end before we set the tiers in stone, when you're talking about the top teams, we say, all right, everyone close your eyes. Can you picture that quarterback hoisting the Lombardi Trophy?
Confetti test.
Can you, the confetti test. And after that exercise,
everyone opens their eyes.
You open your eyes, and everyone said, guys, where we all think, was there a guy missing? And they said, yeah, darn.
I mean,
and so
Well, Greg does like.
I mean, Wilds.
That's a solid.
It is true. I'll be honest. Now I will say that did Brew really make fools of the committee one time ever. Nick Foles. There was one time that the Eagles we dropped him repeatedly, and so it's not foolproof, but it's pretty solid. So Greg, you make a good point, but doesn't pass the confetti.
I'm gonna be honest, Nick. And I'm actually saying this from the heart.
Oh, thanks. Not just because you yelled.
These, no. These might be the best tiers I've seen from you.
Wow.
There is one glaring error. Well, Wild's gonna get to that. That's your. But other than that, I had to search for something I would change.
Wow.
You could even add something's a bit off. In parentheses, I might add Funk Watch.
Oh.
For all of them, but the tiers were good. Like I said, there's one glaring error, I think, and Wilds will get to that.
Okay.
But I'm going to say the Seahawks.
You hate Geno.
No, he's got three touchdowns, 3 picks.
But it's
just a fact.
But 3 wins.
Okay, let me break it down. They need to fall.
Okay.
All right, I think the Buccaneers, the Commanders, and the Saints I would put ahead of Seattle. And if the Chargers were healthy, I'll put them ahead. But here's the deal. They barely beat the Denver Broncos with rookie quarterback Bo Nix making his NFL debut.
That's true.
They needed overtime to beat the woe-begone, sorry, Wilds, Patriots.
That's kind of like a loss.
Right. They needed overtime. Yeah. And then what they do last week, they crushed the Dolphins, kind of, 24-3. I mean, with Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle as the quarterbacks. Okay, yeah. but I'm just saying, when those are your quarterbacks,
soft
Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle, it's a soft 3-0.
That's fair.
These are the quarterbacks, just to repeat, Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, Skylar Thompson, and Tim Boyle. I mean, I'm supposed to get excited because you beat them? So I just would drop them.
So how good are the quarterbacks you have beaten is a tried and true committee test. So that part I totally agree with. And it conflicts with the Vikings. We had 2 committee mainstays. How good are the quarterbacks you've beaten versus confetti test? Also, how good are the quarterbacks you've beaten if one of them's Daniel Jones and another one's Brock Purdy?
I knew that was
coming. So I don't disagree with that analysis. Here's what I will say. Seattle, to me, the only real concern I had with them this year as far as them being able to be kneecapped was their offensive line, and I think it's held up well. Geno, you're right, the numbers haven't been gaudy, but man, he's played well. I thought his highs have been high, even if the numbers haven't been great, and I think the team is progressively getting better, and so I'm comfortable with where they're at, but your point of you don't get a softer 3 stretch of Bo Nix first start, right. Jacoby Brissett is not a starter, and Skylar Thompson, Tim Boyle who aren't starters. That part's totally fair.
I'm going to move the Cowboys down. I'm going to tell a quick story about a vacation that I took. Nope. You familiar with a species called the lionfish?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fish. It's an invasive species, however. I went to a vacation in Bahamas, and they want to kill all the lionfish, but it's hard just to kill the lionfish for fun. You have to have a market for the lionfish. So they decided to cook up the lionfish, serve them at the restaurants, give everybody an incentive to kill more lionfish. They're an invasive species. I walk into this restaurant, I see this disgusting looking fish. That's all everywhere. Just fried like a brown shoe. I say, that looks horrible. I sit down at the restaurant. The guy says, in our special, we just have a few because they have to be like caught with a dart gun or something. Lionfish. I said, that gross fish that I saw walking into the restaurant? I said, yeah, it's actually delicious, the meat and all this. And he gave me this long story about how the thing that I saw was gross and terrible. But no, actually, it's a delicacy and it's amazing. So I ordered it. Guess what? It was terrible. That's the Cowboys. Everybody is telling you that they are good. But what you see is not good. What you see is bad. But everyone is bombarding with you how good it is because they're incentivized to tell you that they're good and interesting. They're not. Let's look at the defense. It's not good. You've watched it with your own eyes. This team is bad. last, tied for last. That's the best part of that graphic. Oh, home field advantage. They're undefeated last couple of years. Not this year, and if you want to count the Packers, that's 3 home losses in a row. What else is bad? So they can't, I didn't even make this graphic. They can't stop the run. They also can't run. So you can't stop the run and you can't run. So what does that mean? You don't even have the ball. They're 27th in time of possession. So Dak doesn't even have a chance of having the ball. And when he does have the ball, he's either getting it in garbage time, but when it matters, his completion percentage is 61%. Worst of his career, 25th in the league between Danny Dimes, stand back, he hasn't had a great performance, and Jacoby Brissett. The Cowboys aren't actually good. I know that people are convincing me that they're good. They're not. Lionfish, if you're on vacation, they try to convince you to get the lionfish. Do not get it. And it's expensive.
Oh, really?
The one diver has to go down. He can only catch 4 a day, and then he has to come up. The union rules about diving for lionfish. Move the Cowboys down. They're not actually good.
I don't even want to rebut it. I disagree with you.
Hard
it was
to rebut.
such a great performance.
Hard to rebut.
Well done.
Like, actually, lionfish, when you